Welcome to We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by my friends at InvestYrefy.com. Invest in America like I do, and by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and El Cholo. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast, and be sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, and be sure to patronize our sponsors. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well...
Y'all really want to do this?
You ain't that tough. Besides, there's two of us.
I thought you said there were two of you.
Now what about your money? Keep it! It's too late for that! Please don't, I'm sorry! What are you doing tapping out? There ain't no referee.
Breathe.
I know you can't breathe, dumb. I got you in a chokehold. You know what we used to do to boys back home when they get tough? We'd raccoon them. You know what that is?
We know where you live.
Three days ago, I had to evacuate my home in California due to the fires. Now, fortunately, I have friends who I was able to stay with. But many people don't have that good fortune, and now many people are homeless, and some have died. This disaster was caused by multiple variables, and people have different opinions on which one should be weighted the most. Some have identified arson, some have pointed to climate change. But regardless of the cause, hopefully we can all agree that we have a great degree of control over the response. And the response has been well below what we actually deserve. And part of the reason why is because we have inverted our priorities and are focusing on things like diversity, equity, and inclusion instead of efficacy. And as a result of focusing on DEI, people have died. And in this video, I'm going to explain why. Last year, the LA Fire Department had its budget slashed by $17.6 million. In response to that, on December 4th, the head of the LA Fire Department, Kristen Crowley, sent a letter to Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, saying that they are not prepared for a variety of different disasters, including wildfires. Now, $17.6 million constitutes about 2% of LAFD's budget. But it's not about just the budget cuts, it's also about how they're spending their existing budget, because a significant amount, at least $1 to $2 million, was spent on diversity, equity, and inclusion policy. In recent years, critics have complained that LAFD is too white, too male, and has too much nepotism. Now, the nepotism is a fair claim, because if you're choosing people based on who they know, you're not necessarily picking the best people. And the desire to make LAFD's visual representation more representative of the racial and gender distribution in LA is understandable. But when we make diversity even a secondary goal when efficacy is the primary goal, then focusing on the secondary goal at all can get in the way of the primary. Now, this has been going on for a while. When the previous mayor, Eric Garcetti, entered office in 2013, he set a goal of raising the number of women in LAFD from 2.9% to up to 5% by 2020. As of now, the percentage is 3.5%. Now, the current head of the LAFD is Kristen Crowley, and here's what she had to say about her diversity goals.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Now, you might not think this is a big deal. After all, who's going to get upset about wanting more diversity? But in practice, when you have scarce resources and you have a secondary priority, that secondary priority can get in the way of the first, especially in an environment where there's scarce resources and your department has lost $17.6 million in budget and needs to make sure that every dollar is allocated to the most important needs. You might even think that, okay, we can have diversity be first and merit be a tiebreaker, but that's not actually what's happening in practice. 3 of the top women at LAFD are all lesbians, and given the minority percentage of lesbians in the overall population in LA, the chances of that happening by chance and purely on merit are 1 in 64,000. Or near zero. Meanwhile, the head of equity made almost $400,000 in base pay when her job is primarily to focus on diversity when they don't have enough money to even effectively do their job. On top of that, the head of equity, Christine Larson, makes more than the second in command, John O'Brien, despite the fact that he outranks her. Now, it's all well and good to say that efficacy is your top priority and that you're not going to compromise on that, but the money reveals your actual priorities. Moreover, if you hear Christine Larson talk in this clip, you'll see where qualitatively they're actually focused. Does that sound like the rhetoric of someone who is laser focused on saving lives to you? In addition to DEI taking critical resources away from critical functions, it also introduces a double standard. For example, only 27.9% of public school teachers in LA are men. Is anyone pushing for them to have equity? Only about 11% of nurses in the state are men. Is anyone pushing for them to be at 50%? Men and women are equal, but we're not equivalent. We have different things that we're good at. And yes, I'm sure there are roles in LAFD that require more empathy and compassion, which women tend to be better at. But setting top-down goals like 5% of the workforce needs to be women is an inversion of our priorities. And what we need to focus on is safety first. On top of that, DEI infantilizes women and minorities, and it causes people to doubt whether any particular woman or minority actually earned their way and truly is the best of the best for their role. Now, to be absolutely clear, LAFD is not solely or even primarily responsible for this catastrophe. There are various issues with water management, like insufficient capacity to store water that we need in critical scenarios, or fire hydrants going dry and not having enough water in them. Part of this is just gross incompetence because in 2014, Californians passed a bill that allocated billions of dollars for more water storage capacity. And now, over 10 years later, we still don't have an additional capacity built because of over-regulation. This is all happening while the head of LA Water and Power makes $750,000 a year, which is more than the president of the United States. It's also not just a state issue. Only 3% of the land in California is owned by the state. 57% of it is owned by the federal government. However, the state and the federal government do work together to keep it clear and maintained so that wildfires don't get out of control. But as I mentioned before, LAFD is just a microcosm of a macro issue of our government and our politicians constantly focusing on what sounds good rather than focusing on what is good, like safety. And we can't just point the finger outward because the politicians are responding to the culture set by the people. If we as a people keep allowing ourselves to be confused and keep on thinking that having diversity is more important than efficacy and merit in our critical functions and our government that we're paying our hard-earned tax money for, we will keep on getting the same results. And while we're getting those results, we'll allow ourselves to keep on getting misled by Democratic politicians like Bernie Sanders who exclusively focus on climate change, which is part of the issue. And yes, the climate is changing. We might have reasonable disagreements about how much of climate change is man-made and how fast it's happening, but it is happening and it's something that we need to all adapt to. But in the short term, while we're misallocating our resources because of DEI and inverting our priorities, people are dying. This fire probably wasn't preventable. We had some of the strongest windstorms on record, and in a sense, it was a bit of a perfect storm. But could it have been majorly mitigated? Absolutely. And having the best team available and putting our money in the best places available is a necessary condition for that happening. We as a people need to pay attention. We need to use our voice and our vote to incentivize politicians to do the right thing, not the thing that sounds good. Because in critical conditions, when the stakes are this high and we focus on DEI, people die.
What's the over-under on when that gentleman will be called the black face of white supremacy? Move over. I worked hard for that title. Quick question. Would California be burning like this under different leadership?
Hey guys, Willie Nelson here, and I just wanted to let you know what's happening. I'm reporting right by the Pacific Palisades, about a mile from where I live in Santa Monica. And on my way home from my work, I stopped to check out these fires that have been going on all day. You can see them driving down PCH. You can see them from the road. It's pretty intense. A lot of friends have been sending me photos and videos throughout the day. Here's what they've been seeing. You can even see the fire a little bit behind me in the corner. And the crews out here are working hard. Over 1,200 acres have been burned and more than 3,000 people have been evacuated. Some streets are closed off and they even bulldozed some cars that were unfortunately left on Sunset Boulevard to make way for emergency vehicles. Unfortunately, while Governor Gavin Newsom has been busy Trump-proofing the state, a lot of other tasks have been completely neglected, and that's left weak points in areas like this. I spoke to some people here and they told me they wish California had better leadership to prevent tragedies like this from happening in the future. I grew up here in Los Angeles, so I've been dealing with fires my whole life, pretty familiar with the smell of the smoke in the air. Reporting here from the Pacific Palisades, I'm Willie Nelson.
Hi, folks. You may be hearing a lot about Yrefy these days. Well, it's true. Investors all over the country are earning a high fixed rate of return, and they don't care what happens with the stock market or the Fed. And it's true, your interest is compounded daily, you're paid monthly, and there are absolutely no fees. And yes, it's true, there is no attack on your principal if you ever need your money back. When you invest with Yrefy like I do, you are in control. You can turn your income on or off, compound it, whatever you choose. You don't have to worry about doom and gloom economic news, and you can have peace of mind that you'll receive your statement every month with no surprises. Would you like some more information? Just call 877-80-INVEST, that's 877-80-INVEST, or log on to investyrefy.com, that's investyrefy.com. Yrefy, do well by doing good. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are concerned about the invasion of privacy that is currently going on by the Biden administration? Biden's DOJ is invading individuals' private messages and targeting them based on their political affiliation, and that's why I partnered with Freedom Chat, a private social messaging app that, like me, believes privacy is your fundamental human right. Freedom Chat has variable end-to-end encryption, built-in screenshot protection, no storage of messages on their servers, and no commercial use of user data. I'm such a fan of Freedom Chat, in fact, that I have created my own private channel that you can subscribe to for exclusive content, including never-seen images, videos, and posts. Simply download the app, or if you're on Android, join their waitlist. Search for my channel and subscribe. No one can see the channels that you are subscribed to or the posts that you react to. It's your own perfectly curated private news feed. Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat. Download the app today and subscribe to my channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. What are the odds that in a city with a population of 4 million, the top 3 Los Angeles Fire Department officials would be lesbians? Christian Crowley, first LGBTQ fire chief. Salary, $439,772. School, Harvard Kennedy School for Managing Diverse Organizations. Her mission, the creation of systemic equity and inclusion across the LAFD. Christina Kepner, first lesbian assistant chief, LAFD, Harvard Kennedy School for Managing Diverse Organizations. Once accused, by the way, of domestic violence against her girlfriend. Kristen Larson, LA Fire Department's first lesbian equity bureau chief. Salary, $399,000, co-founder of Equity on Fire. Before getting the job, she accused the LAFD of being racist and sexist.
All right, like everyone, I'm trying to figure out how this happened in California so that I don't say something that's inaccurate. I came across a video of the fire chief, a lesbian. Love it, great. Fan of lesbians, try to be one, didn't take. I don't think I'm a lesbian, I live in Los Angeles, and the men are so effeminate that honestly at this point dating a woman is like the straightest thing you can do. So anyway, talking about recruiting more lesbians into the LAFD to be firefighters. I think lesbians can be firefighters. Dope, fine. I'm not thinking about your genitals or your preferences when I need a hero, right? But is that not like, why is it okay? That'd be like a gay man being like, we need more gay men in here. That'd be like me going, we need more hot guys in here to be firefighters. That would be like a dude being like, we just need more hot blondes. That's what we need, and I will not stop until there are more people that I'm attracted to or that are in my dating pool. Like, isn't that essentially just recruiting people in your dating pool to work at your office? Wait, all the people in charge of LA's fire response are lesbians named Kristen? I do not recall voting on a prop that said we could recruit our fire team off Grindr. What?
And this is the aforementioned assistant fire chief for equity.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Bottom line, California has a population of 40 million people, but its infrastructure is equipped for a population half that size. There hasn't been any real expansion of our water retention infrastructure in 20 years, even though voters in 2014 passed a bond measure for $7 billion to build more aqueducts, raise the level of dams to capture water, half of which right now flows right into the Pacific Ocean when it rains or when the snow melts. This is simply irresponsible. And the forests are no longer thin because the lumber industry has been chased out of California. As a result, trees are too thick. The fallen debris just sits there and serves as fuel for fires. As for the mayor of LA, she was in Ghana during the crisis, and when she came home, a Sky News reporter confronted her at LAX. A local reporter wouldn't have done this, and you could tell Bass was not used to this.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Can you back up? I appreciate it. Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. They're gonna come. Ma'am, hold on one second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down?
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control.
And now the owner of the Los Angeles Times says his paper made a mistake when it endorsed Karen Bass.
Well, first of all, we'll accept some blame, right? So at the LA Times, we endorsed Karen Bass. I think right now in front, that's a mistake, and we admit that. So I thought it was very important early on for me to come out. And I think we were one of the few to say competence matters. Got like maybe 20, 23 million views to show how that was really dear to the heart of most people, whether you're right or left. And it's an interesting thing is that maybe we should think about how we elect people on the basis of, did they actually run a job? Did they actually make a payroll? Do they understand what it is? And rather than having professional politicians whose only job is really to run for office. There's nothing, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but I think we're at the stage now of the nation and the world, and there's many things we'll talk about even in healthcare, that you really need people to understand how it affects a man in the street, how it affects the working type of person. And I think President Trump in this election has understood that, and he's become truly a Republican Party, as you said. He's become the Democratic Party in terms of addressing the problems of the man in the street. So competence absolutely matters, and I'm glad that that's been taken up as almost a meme now, that competence matters.
Americans have had enough of supporting companies that hate our values. Tired of compromise? So am I. It's time to switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They are an example of putting the cause ahead of profits, and that's why I'm proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. When you switch over to Patriot Mobile, you're sending a message that you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of life, and our military vets and our first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes it easy to switch, keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan for your needs. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation when you use the offer code Larry. Join me and make that switch today. patriotmobile.com/Larry, patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Located in the heart of Sugar House, Salt Lake City, Utah, family-owned El Cholo is a vibrant Mexican restaurant offering a unique dining experience across 2 stylish levels. With a beautiful bar, chic design, and stunning views of the Wasatch Mountains, it's the perfect spot for both casual meals and special occasions. El Cholo can host up to 250 people, making it an ideal venue for events like weddings, parties, or corporate gatherings. Whether you're enjoying authentic Mexican dishes or sipping cocktails like our signature margarita, the restaurant's warm ambiance and prime location attract a diverse crowd, including the University of Utah students who love the flavorful dishes and wonderful, lively atmosphere. El Cholo is a favorite gathering spot for locals and visitors alike. 2166 South 900th East, Salt Lake City, Utah, 84106, phone number 385-426-2166. Other locations in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, downtown LA, Anaheim Hills, Corona del Mar, and La Habra. elcholo.com, that's elcholo.com. And for the rest of February, at the Salt Lake City location only, but for all of February at all El Cholo locations, mention Larry Elder sent me and you get 10% off your check minus alcohol. And Governor Gavin Newsom was confronted by a woman in the Palisades about why they ran out of water. And he proceeded to lie to her and say he was on the phone talking to President Biden. He was not.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I
it
don't
doesn't-
believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So
There's
let's
no
get
cell
it.
service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild. We're getting
Why
the
was there no
resources to deal
water
with
in the
this.
hydrants,
That's
Governor?
all being, that's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to
Right.
be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally, you know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact information?
Right there.
So, not enough water, not enough manpower, in part because a lot of firefighters were fired or suspended for refusing to take the vaccine. Not enough thinning of the forest, but plenty of money for taxpayer-provided health care for California's illegal aliens.
But the thing is, for sanctuary cities and states, they complain about the cost, but they continue to add services. I want to show you California. As of yesterday, California has added a health care benefit for migrants. They are now going to extend free health care to migrants between the ages of 26 and 49. That's going to cover 700,000 additional people and cost the state $2.6 billion each year. Now, that's added onto that's added onto California's deficit, which is already $68 billion.
I have this message for the people of California. Read my book, As Goes California, My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. California has not elected a Republican statewide in 20 years. In the California Assembly and the Senate, Democrats don't have majorities, they have supermajorities. Of the 15 members of the LA City Council, not a single one is a Republican. There are 5 members of the LA County Supervisors, 4 of the 5 are Democrats. You get the government that you vote for. Now, Trump nominated for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who spent 4 hours being grilled during his confirmation hearing. He was accused of opposing women in combat when, in fact, he's opposed to standards being lowered to achieve some sort of desired outcome. It was a long day.
Yes or no, yes or no.
Veterans organizations that will help our veterans get every damn thing that they deserve because they signed on the dotted line to keep us safe.
And how about Senator Hirono?
Do you know that being drunk at work is prohibited for service members under the UCMJ?
Senator, those
Yes
are
or no?
multiple false anonymous reports peddled by NBC
Do you
News
know
that
that
run directly
drinking on the job
contradictory to
is
the dozens of men and women at
not
Fox News
contemplated
Channel
and
who I work with
I'm
who
not
came
hearing
on
the
the
answer to my
record
question.
and said
In your
never
opening
seen
statement,
that.
Mr. Hicks,
Hegseth was accused of not being qualified and of having a drinking problem. I give you Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma.
You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have.
And Hegseth was asked about his knowledge of munitions.
How many rounds of 5.56 can you fit into the magazine of an M4 rifle?
Depends on the magazine, but standard issue is 30, Senator.
And what size round does the M9 Beretta standard issue sidearm for the military fire?
A 9mm, Senator.
What kind of batteries do you put in your night vision goggle?
Duracell.
So right there, you're representing qualifications that show you understand what the warfighter deals with every single day on the battlefield. You understand what happens on the front line, where our troops will be.
He appears to be well qualified. Now, I think the term is butthurt. This is what happens when your party throws you out of the window, they lose the election, and you feel that had you not dropped out, you actually would have beaten Trump. Makes you a little bit cranky.
Do you still believe he's a threat to democracy?
I think what he did was a genuine threat to democracy. I'm hopeful that we're beyond that. My being the oldest president, I know more world leaders than any one of you ever met in your whole life. And I know them, and I know how they think. Not a joke.
He was this close to saying, "You damn kids, get off of my lawn!" Now, during the certification of President-elect Trump, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries laid out his agenda.
That makes the American dream possible. We will fight hard for the freedom to vote. We will fight hard.
As I bring on Congresswoman Maloney, I want to join the distinguished chairman in acknowledging legislation of other members of Congress that are contained in the chairman's legislation that they are putting forth, and chairwoman's. And I also want to acknowledge Maxine Waters is doing some very important work on this subject, not part of this package, but part of preserving our democracy.
We will fight hard.
Poor Kamala Harris, standing there next to Mike Johnson, certifying her own defeat. Her sphincter looks so tight she could have spit out a diamond. Let's take a look at Kamala's terrible, horrible, not good, very bad day.
The state of the vote for the President of the United States, as delivered to the President of the Senate, is as follows. The whole number of the electors appointed to vote for President of the United States is 538. Within that whole number, the majority is 270. The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris Kamala D. Harris of the state of California has received 226 votes. This announcement of the state of the vote by the President of the Senate shall be deemed a sufficient declaration of the persons elected, President and Vice President of the United States. Thank you very much.
They can't stop you back on your way. It's fun to stay at the YMCA.
Well, today was obviously a very important day, and it was about what should be the norm and what the American people should be able to take for granted, which is that one of the most important pillars of our democracy is that there will be a peaceful transfer of power. And today, I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, which included today performing my constitutional duties to ensure that the people of America, the voters of America, will have their votes counted, that those votes matter, and that they will determine then the outcome of an election. I do believe very strongly that America's democracy is only as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
We will fight hard.
Every single person, their willingness to fight for
We will fight hard.
and respect the importance of our democracy. Otherwise, it is very fragile, and it will not be able to withstand moments of crisis. And today, America's democracy stood.
Madam Vice President, what's next for you? What's next for you?
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?
Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
You can be in heaven or you can be in hell. The choice is yours. I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours.
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Kamala Harris, formerly pronounced Donald John Trump, 47th President of the United States, which raises the question, yo, Kamala, what's next for you?
Hey, Willie Nelson here reporting from Los Angeles. With Kamala Harris out of a job after her epic loss to Donald Trump, what's next? Motivational speaking on losing gracefully? A wine brand to match her drinking rumors? Or maybe a job where her gift for word salad really shines? Let's hit the streets and see what the life coaches and failed screenwriters of LA think Kamala should do next.
I never really trusted her. She looked like she drinks. She's always smiling and she's always stuttering. She looks like one of those type of people that maybe keeps something in her office drawer.
She's gonna try to run for Senate or something, but she needs to get her thoughts together and stop contradicting herself. You can't be pro and against something. It's either you for something or you're against it. You can't scream one thing and then do the exact opposite. That's hypocrisy, and we don't need no more hypocrisy in the world.
I mean, she'd probably make a great California governor. I'm not sure, sadly, that America's ready for a female president yet. I hope she continues her political career. She cares more about the working class than just the rich people.
She should stay home. I think she has no qualifications and she knows nothing about life. I know she didn't do her job. She was supposed to take care of the borders and the economy, and she did nothing of that. She let all the criminals get in, and it's very dangerous for us.
Do you have plans to visit the border? Not today.
I just think she'd make an amazing governor for California. California's always been a place for immigrants, and I'm hoping that she's going to fight back against whatever plans that Donald Trump has for our country.
I think she's done. I don't think she did really good as a vice president.
Do you think she drank on the job?
Maybe. It's a rough job, so you need some help.
What do you think is her drink of choice?
I'll say some red wine.
Does Kamala Harris drink on the job?
Kamala Harris does whatever she's told.
What do you think is going to be in her stocking? Coal or a bottle of Hennessy?
You know, maybe Hennessy so she could finally start telling the truth.
Don't you ever let anybody take your power from you.
She could probably be a stripper.
Do you think Kamala Harris drank on the job?
No, I know she smoked pot, though.
And listened to Tupac and Snoop Dogg?
No, I think she listened to Colby Cabot. My nose in a crinkle, my toes, where it goes.
I wasn't her biggest supporter, mainly because of her stance on, the war in Gaza and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which I'm particularly passionate about. Do I want to see like a black woman in leadership? 100%. Do I also want more like accountability and transparency, absolutely.
Well, she could keep going, like as in women empowerment and stuff, but I feel like the way the system is built, the men in the world won't allow that to happen.
Why don't you think the system will allow it? She was able to get vice president.
Yeah, you're right, but I feel like that's as much as they'll give her.
I myself really didn't care for her. I just believe in honesty is the best policy, and I just feel like at certain perspectives of life, she wasn't really being honest with the American people.
Would you want to see her as governor of California in the future?
No.
Do you think if she gets that role, she would drink on the job?
Probably, and smoke a little something probably too. I don't know.
I think I'm ready for somebody different, especially given the state of California. I don't think things have been perfect. I would be interested in some change.
I don't think anything's going to happen unless it's in California, like a senator or a governor race for California, since it leans Democratic.
Do you think she'd drink on the job?
I think she would drink. I don't know what effect what she does, but she definitely is an alcoholic. Yes, I could tell.
What do you think she prefers, Hennessy or wine?
Probably wine.
I think she would be a strong Democratic governor.
It should be retirement or possibly jail. I don't know, prison maybe. If she wants, she might have a better career as a shot girl.
That's all from Los Angeles, wherever Yoga Mat is writing a screenplay, and even the street signs have NDAs. This is Willie Nelson, your man on the street. We would never make you look stupid. Oh, okay.
It cranks her up, like it tees her up. You listen to that, boom.
Did Democrat House Leader Hakeem Jeffries really say Democrats don't deny elections?
2 months ago, the American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America. Thank you for that very generous applause. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle. You see, one should love America. One should love America when you win and when you lose. That's the patriotic thing to do. And that's the America that House Democrats will fight hard to preserve because we love this country. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle.
Let's roll just a bit of the tape, shall we?
Well, don't think there won't be denialism if Kamala Harris loses, too.
It won't be the same.
Okay, but there's going to be. I mean, they're already laying the foundation for lawfare. We're going to be stuck in this election one way or the other, no matter who wins, for weeks.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Democrats have never done that. They've conceded.
We already had this fight on my show. Hillary Clinton is the original election denier. Stacey Abrams. Yes, she is.
It's different. Come on,
All
man.
right.
It's different between grumbling. Yes, they grumble and they shouldn't, and maybe it goes over the. It's different between grumbling about something and actually trying to overturn it, like he did. I mean, you know this. Why do we have to go through this?
That's fine. You're allowed to file legal challenges in response to an election, which is what Trump did, and he lost, and he did wind up leaving office. I'm not going to defend his behavior on January 6th. I never have, and I'm not going to start tonight. But if you don't think there's going to be denialism on the Dem side, you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening on that side for these years.
Well, Democrats have always accepted the results of a free and fair election. This election is not going to be any different. In fact, Kamala Harris will be sort of there in place to do that. And so I fully expect that Democrats are going to vote to certify, as they mostly always have. I'd be shocked, maybe there'd be one or two, but I'd be shocked if that would happen. And that is the way it's supposed to be. I don't even recall the certification dates when I was in Congress. I actually have no recollection, even though I know I was there.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
How can you win with Russian interference, though?
That's not okay.
But rightly. Because I think he's an illegitimate president that didn't really win. So how do you fight against that in 2020?
You are absolutely right. He's an illegitimate president in my mind.
Could you be my vice president? Folks, look, I absolutely agree.
Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. He lost the election, and he was put in office because the Russians interfered.
Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president.
The president elected, legally elected, is not legitimate.
I don't see this president-elect as a legitimate president.
You said you believe that Russia's interference altered the outcome of the election.
I do. We have a president who, if in fact it is proven, has been assisted by the Russians, and may in fact not be a legitimate president. The one thing that Trump Trump is fearful of when it comes to his being president is that finally we will see how illegitimate his victory actually was.
I have an objection.
I object to the 15 votes from the state of North Carolina. I object because people are horrified.
He's an illegitimate president. Our election was hijacked. There was no question. Congress has a duty to hashtag protect our democracy and hashtag follow the facts.
John Lewis is completely right. There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election of Donald Trump. The Russians interfered with his election. James Comey and the FBI interfered with his election. The fake news industry interfered with his election.
Trump knows he's an illegitimate president who got illegitimate foreign. Do you believe Trump is illegitimate president?
What I believe is that there's no question that the outcome of this election was affected by the Russian interference.
There absolutely is a cloud of illegitimacy.
So that legitimacy is a question. Yes, that was a very tainted election. And in that sense, it's illegitimate.
Why do you think the president is going to such great lengths to essentially prove that he beat you? Because he knows he didn't. He knows he's an illegitimate president.
Stolen emails, stolen drone, stolen election. Welcome to the world of unprecedented Trump. Do you believe President Trump is an illegitimate president?
Based on what I just said, which I can't retract.
He tweeted in February 2018, quote, the more we learn about the 2016 election, the more illegitimate it becomes. America deserves to know whether we have a fake president in the Oval Office. The Russian attempt to have the election. And frankly, the FBI is weighing in on the election. I think makes this election illegitimate.
There was a widespread understanding that this election was not on the level. We still don't know what really happened, Isaac. I mean, there's just a lot that I think will be revealed, history will discover, but you don't win by 3 million votes and have all this other shenanigans stuff going on and not come away with an idea like, whoa, something's not right here.
It seems to me that there's a cloud of illegitimacy that continues to hang over 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
The outcome of the election was affected by their interference, and now we need to know to what degree, if any, the Trump campaign was actually in collusion with Russia.
He knows he's an illegitimate president. So of course he's obsessed with me, and I believe that it's a guilty conscience.
We actually won the last presidential election, folks. They stole the last presidential election.
And Al Gore won that election. I think he won anyway.
Actually, I think I carried for it.
Al Gore won the election nationwide and also in Florida, but the Supreme Court ruled the other way.
Al Gore got more votes, but not enough to stay out of the Supreme Court, where President Bush was elected 5-4.
Bush versus Gore. A court took away a presidency.
If all the votes were counted in Florida, then Al Gore would be president today, George Bush would be back in office.
I come from Florida, where you and others participated in what I call the United States coup d'etat.
So in 2013, according to reports, Vice President Joe Biden, he claimed that Al Gore was the one who was elected president, and he claimed that the recount result was, quote, a bad decision.
And never forget, dear friends, what they did in Florida to Al Gore and me, to all of us, to older Americans, to African Americans, to Haitian Americans, denied the right to vote and have those votes counted.
I do believe the projections were right in the first place at 7 o'clock when he called it for war. Let me tell you something, without a doubt. George Bush did not carry Florida, and it was not close.
There's no question that you won the state of Florida. Oh, thank you. No, not the question. That's we will never know because the votes weren't counted. But and did in your judgment? I mean, that's unfortunately.
And there is no other way of saying it but be very blunt. Al Gore won the state of Florida in 2000, and we should never forget it. Most Americans, a great many Americans, don't have confidence that the election of 2000 was fair.
But I don't believe we lost. I believe we just failed to have all the votes counted.
Al Gore won the state of Florida in 2000, although not the presidency. We know we won this election. They know we won this election. And Americans know we won this election.
This brings us to the Trump effect. Meta's Mark Zuckerberg spent $400 million of his own money to increase Democrat turnout in 2020 to defeat Donald Trump. He banned Trump from Facebook. He colluded with the government to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. He suppressed content that was skeptical about the COVID vaccine and the mandates. And now, after the election, Zuckerberg goes down to Mar-a-Lago and breaks bread with President-elect Trump, donates $1 million to the inauguration, calls Trump's response after the first assassination attempt badass, put big-time Trump supporter and CEO of the UFC, Dana White, on his board of directors, and now Facebook says it will no longer be using its so-called independent fact-checkers.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, so we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact-checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, We're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. The bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice.
That's called winning. More Trump effect. The Prime Minister of Canada, after Trump threatened to impose tariffs on Canadian goods, has announced his intention to resign.
Tonight, deeply unpopular at home because of soaring prices and ridiculed by President-elect Trump, Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau bowing out.
I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
The son of a popular Prime Minister, Trudeau's movie star looks and photogenic young family made him an international star. But in recent years, he was criticized for inflation and immigration. 3 weeks ago, his closest advisor, the Deputy Prime Minister, resigned.
And it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
A final blow, tension with President-elect Trump, who threatened Canada with 25% tariffs. Despite Trudeau rushing to Mar-a-Lago to appease him, Trump blamed Canada for fentanyl and undocumented immigrants crossing the border, and Canada's trade advantage with the U.S., mocking him on Truth Social as a governor. Posting today, many people in Canada love being the 51st state.
Why isn't your bank asking what's in your heart? When big banks cancel your account because they don't like your politics, or they share your transaction data with the government, it's no wonder they don't ask what's in your heart. That's not what they care about. Old Glory Bank is different. We're the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Started by Dr. Ben Carson, Larry Elder, and John Rich, we proudly serve customers in all 50 states. Open your account in minutes at oldglorybank.com. We stand with you.
And this leader of the Canadian Conservative Party may become Trudeau's successor.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological spectrum.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, a lot of people
don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
like who?
I don't know who, but
well, you're the one who asked the question, so yeah. You must know somebody.
Okay, I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
what are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying
in terms of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
not
just
sure.
wondering.
I don't know what your question is.
Then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense. Okay. Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government. The guy prints $600 billion, grows our money supply by 32% in 3 years. That's growing the money 8 times faster than the economy. No wonder we have the worst inflation in 4 decades. I'm going to cap spending, cut waste, so that we can balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates. You'll want to be able to pay your mortgage again? You want to be able to afford rent? Then you have to vote for Pierre Poilievre, because I'm the only one with a common sense plan that will bring back the buying power of your paycheck.
How different is this man from Trudeau? Well, after the International Criminal Court charged Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu with being a war criminal. Trudeau said if Bibi were on Canadian soil, Trudeau would arrest him.
Now that the ICC has issued warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, Canadian law enforcement is obligated to arrest them should they come to Canada. Will you allow that to happen, or will you step in to prevent an arrest?
First of all, as Canada has always said, it's really important that everyone abide by international law. This is something we've been calling on from the beginning of the conflict. We are one of the founding members of the International Criminal Court, the International Court of Justice. We stand up for international law, and we will abide by all the regulations and rulings of the international courts. This is just who we are as Canadians.
So Trudeau believes that Israel and Bibi are committing genocide. Check out how Trudeau's possible successor answers the question about Israel doing a preemptive attack on Iran's nuclear facilities.
Yesterday you said that you endorse Israel proactively defending itself by hitting Iran's nuclear sites, which is something that President Joe Biden does not endorse. Do you not feel like this could lead to a likelihood of an all-out conventional war between Iran and Israel? And do you not agree with Joe Biden and his assessment?
I think the idea of allowing a genocidal, theocratic, unstable dictatorship that is desperate to avoid being overthrown by its own people to develop nuclear weapons is about the most dangerous and irresponsible thing that the world could ever allow. And if Israel were to stop that genocidal, theocratic, unstable government from acquiring nuclear weapons, it would be a gift by the Jewish state to humanity.
And how about this for a prime minister with common sense?
Yes.
What are the steps that need to be taken to fix the damages done to inflation?
First and foremost, stop the overspending. Inflation, high taxes, deficits, high interest rates are all symptoms. The disease is overspending. When governments spend too much money, there's only three ways to get it. One is to raise your taxes, the other is to borrow, which means that they'll tax you more later on, and the third way is to print money. Now, printing money seems like a painless way to pay for things, but it's very simple. If you have 10 apples and $10 in the economy, it's a bucket apple. If you double the number of dollars in the economy to 20, you still only have 10 apples. You're not twice as rich, it's just that each apple costs twice as much. And that is a tax on the working people because it chews up the purchasing power of your paycheck, only to pay for excessive government spending, and it balloons the asset values of the billionaires. So it's a real transfer from the have-nots to the have-yots. Inflation is the worst and most immoral tax. It always results from government creating cash. Our government has created about $700 billion of cash in the last 3 years. So we used to have $1.8 trillion of bills, coins, and bank deposits. That was about 3-4 years ago. Now it's up to 2.5 trillion. So that's extra cash, but the economy has only grown by 4%. So the real things in the economy have only grown by 4%. The cash has grown by 40. So the money supply is growing 10 times faster than the stuff money buys, which creates a bidding war, and that's what's driving up inflation. We have to cap government spending with a dollar-for-dollar law that requires my ministers find $1 of savings for every new dollar of spending, so that they go into their departments, find the waste and mismanagement. They want to spend more here, they have to spend less there, or get a bargain here and there to bring both under budget. Then and only then will we stop the money printing, borrowing, and overtaxation and wrestle inflation to the ground. Thank you.
Oh, Canada.
Justin Trudeau, you're f***ing out of here, bud. Hey, and don't forget to take your yarmulke, your turban, your headdress, your cowboy hat, these two dudes, and your face paint with you. And I'm sure you got a couple of these buried in that closet you're afraid to come out of, so don't forget to take these with you too. And, you know, I just got off the phone with Canada, and they wanted me to give you this little present to thank you for your 10 years of service and help bid you farewell. You ready, Justin? F*** off and farewell. So there you go. I even stuffed your little hat in there. You're already half packed, man. Just hit the road.
Remember that man who converted to Islam, who rammed his truck on a bunch of people in Bourbon Street, New Orleans? Speaking of Islam, I asked Robert Spencer of Jihad Watch whether Islam is in fact compatible with our constitutional republic. 90 seconds, Robert. What do we do about it, and is Islam compatible with a constitutional republic?
Well, Islam is not. There are many Muslims who may well be because they want to live their lives like everybody else, but Islam in its classic formulations absolutely cannot coexist with a free constitutional republic that guarantees the equality of rights of women and the freedom of speech and the equality of rights of all people before the law. All these things are denied in Islam. So there's just no way. What we need to undertake is a new long march through the institutions, but we don't really have time for that. What we need to do is call upon the universities at very least to allow for dissenting voices, or they get no federal money, they get no taxpayer money, their endowments are cut off entirely. Of course, many of them have millions of dollars built up. We got to call upon the donors to stop giving to them and make it clear that they're going to suffer at the pocketbook if they keep up this fascism.
Assalamu alaikum. Peace to you all. My name is Saba Ahmed. I'm a law student at American University. I am here to ask you a simple question. I know that we portray Islam and all Muslims as bad, but there's 1.8 billion Muslim followers of Islam. We have 8 million plus Muslim Americans in this country, and I don't see them represented here. But my question is, how can we fight an ideological war with weapons? How can we ever end this war? The jihadist ideology that you talk about, it's an ideology. How can you ever win this thing if you don't address it ideologically?
Great question. I am so glad you're here, and I am so glad you brought that up because it gives us an opportunity to answer. What I find so amazing is since the beginning of this panel, which we are here about Benghazi attack against our people, not one person mentioned Muslims. We are here against Islam, or we're launching war against Muslims. We are here to discuss how 4 Americans died and what our government is doing. We were not here to bash Muslims. You were the one who brought up the issue about most Muslims, not us. And since you brought it up, allow me to elaborate with my answer. There are 1.2 billion Muslims in the world today. Of course, not all of them are radicals. The majority of them are peaceful people. The radicals are estimated to be between 15 to 25%, according to all intelligence services around the world. That leaves 75% of them peaceful people. But when you look at 15 to 25% of the world Muslim population, you're looking at 180 million to 300 million people dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. That is as big of the United States. So why should we worry about the radicals, 15 to 25%? Because it is the radicals that kill. Because it is the radicals that behead and massacre. When you look throughout history, when you look at all the lessons of history, most Germans were peaceful. Yet the Nazis drove the agenda. And as a result, 60 million people died. Almost 14 million in concentration camps. 6 million were Jews. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Russia, most Russians were peaceful as well. Yet the Russians were able to kill 20 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at China, for example, most Chinese were peaceful as well. Yet the Chinese were able to kill 70 million people. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. When you look at Japan prior to World War II, most Japanese were peaceful as well. Yet Japan was able to butcher its way across Southeast Asia, killing 12 million people, mostly killed with bayonets and shovels. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. On September 11th in the United States, we had 2.3 million Arab Muslims living in the United States. It took 19 hijackers, 19 radicals to bring America down to its knees, destroy the World Trade Center, attack the Pentagon, and kill almost 3,000 Americans that day. The peaceful majority were irrelevant. So for all our powers of reasons and us talking about moderate and peaceful Muslims, I'm glad you're here. But where are the others speaking out? And since you are the only Muslim representative, save the applause till the end. And since you're the only Muslim representative in here, you took the limelight instead of speaking about why our government, and I assume, are you an American? You're an American citizen. So as an American citizen, you sat in this room and instead of standing up and saying a question or asking something about our 4 Americans that died and what our government is doing to correct the problem, you stood there to make a point about peaceful, moderate Muslims. I wish you brought 10 with you to question about how we can hold our government responsible. It is time we take political correctness and throw it in the garbage where it belongs and stop calling it fair.
And there will be refreshments afterward. Did you want to respond to the... I think you had a follow-up that you'd... you go ahead, go ahead.
Comment. Thank you for your responses. And I do really hope that other Muslims will start showing up at these conservative forums. But, you know, as a peaceful American Muslim, I would like to think that I'm not that irrelevant. I'm just as much an American, and I'm very deeply saddened about the lives that were lost in Libya. And I hope that we will find justice for their families. But I don't think that this war can ever be won by just the military. You have to you have to bring Muslims to the table to address this.
I think everyone agrees that it can't be won just militarily, and I think that everyone has said that. Can you tell me who the head of the Muslim peace movement is?
I guess it's me right now, so thank you.
Ever notice the similarities between Donald Trump and Muhammad Ali?
You know, I do a thing called a weave. And there are those that are fair that say, this guy is so genius. Then others would say, oh, he rambled. I don't ramble. What you do is you weave things and you do it. You need an extraordinary memory because you have to come back to where you started.
They don't give you credit for that. You could go all the way over here and then get back.
I can go so far here or there. And I can come back to exactly where I started. Someday when you don't come back to where you started...
You're Biden.
I call it the weave. And some people think it's so genius, but the bad people, what they say is, he was rambling. It's not a ramble. There's no
This is a weave.
This is a weave. Good name. I'm not sure. That's another name. We had fake news. We came up with lots of names. I think we should make the weave a part of that stable.
Yeah, you really weaved your way to answer my question twice. Brilliant. So, I don't even want to know the answer.
Let's weave back to his question.
A Negro boy in the South.
We say black now.
All right, black. All right. All right. Is it not the same thing?
What? No, Negro. We are taught that all people are named after country. Chinese are named after China. Cubans are named after Cuba. Irish people are named after Ireland. Indonesians named after Indonesia. Japanese are named after Japan. Australians are named after Australia. But there's no country named Negro.
All right, then let me.
You understand?
I understand.
You're not as dumb as you look.
Let me
Trump and the man then known as Clay are incredibly talented, charismatic, good-looking, brimming with confidence, funny, opinionated, entertaining, and underestimated.
Let me tell you what I think. This is what I want to say. I think, and this, of course, is one man's opinion, and I hope I don't embarrass you. And I don't mean to embarrass you, and I certainly don't mean in any way to impose upon your presence here, because I did want you on the show. I think you're a big bag of wind. Now, just hear me out. Wait a minute. Hold it a second. I think that one...
Bodyguards.
Hold it. Let me tell you... Wait, will you sit quiet for 1 minute, Charlie? This is what I'm trying to say. I think, one, you're a fine fighter. You know what you're doing, and most importantly, you know what you're talking about. Except, I think that you are the closest thing to Barnum that we have ever had. I think that you're the damnedest showman that ever lived, and you ain't kidding anybody. Will you let me finish and shut your mouth for 1 minute? And this is just what I believe. I think...
He wasn't so small, he wouldn't be talking so bold.
I think that what you have established between yourself and Sonny Liston is probably the most fantastic pre-advance showmanship since Barnum brought the circus to town. And I think that you should be credited for it. Whether people know or not that beneath this phony exterior is a very sensitive, nice young man, whether they know that or not, they still...
know that.
Will you let me finish? Do you know you have a 33 1/3 long-playing mouth?
Not a 33 1/3.
78.
300.
All right. See how tough it is to add? Now, will you let me finish? I'm making a point.
Charlie Povich, Washington Post. Liston, almost the first time he hits him. Could be 1, perhaps 2. I'll take 1.
Al Bolin, fight promoter. It has to be Liston.
Mel Durslag, Los Angeles Herald Examiner. I'm picking Liston, obviously, to win the fight, but I have the feeling it's going to go as far as 8 rounds.
Jim Murray, Los Angeles. I like Liston in about 1 to 3 rounds. I think the problem is whether Cassius can hurt Sonny or not. We know Sonny can hurt anything he hits solidly, and I'm not quite sure that anything human can hurt Sonny Liston.
Moore Charnick, Sports Illustrated Magazine. I look for Liston to win in 3 rounds. However, if Clay should get beyond the 3rd round, I think with each succeeding round, his chances are better. And if he goes beyond the 7th round, I look for him to win a 15-round decision.
I'm Frank Butler from the News of the World, London. I feel I must stick with the champion Liston because Clay is a very good boxer, very fast. But we did see him put on the canvas in London by our own heavyweight champion, Henry Cooper. That was a very good left hook, and I figure that Liston is a much bigger puncher, so I must stay with the heavier man, the heavier puncher, and Liston to retain the title.
Okay, here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
Well, what about of all of them? I mean, Scott
fake
Walker?
Laughter from the audience.
Based on my 13 keys to the White House, which has correctly predicted the outcomes of presidential elections in America since 1984, the result is that America is going to have a new and path-breaking president. That is, Kamala Harris will become the first woman president of the United States, at least cracking, if not shattering the glass ceiling, and she will become the first president of mixed African and East Asian descent, kind of foreshadowing where America is going. We're rapidly becoming a majority-minority country.
Thinks he's going to win this election, which, believe it or not, is actually a pretty good sign for Kamala Harris. Because when you think you got it in the bag, you tend to make bad decisions. After the first debate, Trump was so convinced of his inevitable victory that he picked J.D. Vance as his VP candidate. He could have chosen just a regular-ass MAGA Republican like Doug Burgum, but instead, he let the creepy billionaires who hold his leash install the insanely unlikable and off-putting Vance. And now that he's even more convinced there's no way he can lose, you get things like having a rally in New York City where you dump on Puerto Ricans, black people, and pretty much everyone else. You get rallies in blue New Mexico and press conferences in deep red Florida. You get putting Elon Musk in charge of your get out the vote operations and cutting ads where he calls Kamala Harris the C word. These are not the actions of a candidate trying to win a competitive election. It's the actions of someone who thinks he's already won.
But then...
I am the king of the world! Hold it, hold it, hold it. Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a mad man! Wait. I shook up the world! I shook up the world! I shook up the world! Wait a minute. You must listen to me!
First and foremost, it's finally here.
Going into this night, where do we stand?
This is where we stood coming into the night. 268 to 204. So clearly an advantage for Secretary Clinton.
Take a look here. If Donald Trump wins tonight, no matter who they voted for, take a look at these numbers here. 21% say they'll be concerned. 37% say they'll be scared.
This is what both candidates want. They want to be living there starting January 20th of next year. Florida has been going back and forth. Just changed again. It's only 11,000 vote lead. Just now it changed.
Math on your feet. I like this.
The Empire State Building in New York City. Take a look at our running tally of the electoral vote. Anderson, this night is turning out to be a real nail-biter.
All along, the Trump campaign has been saying that Florida's a must-win for them. And I mean,
they can't win without it. Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida.
You know, I'm guessing that the people in Brooklyn, I can see their fingers
That's
probably.
the Hillary Clinton headquarters.
Yeah, fingers probably bleeding because there's no more nail to bite.
I wouldn't call anything encouraging for Hillary Clinton at the moment, to be honest with you, my friend.
Wolf, the scene here is so different than it was a few hours ago when people were happy and relaxed. I have been looking around the room at people who are stone-faced. Some of them have been crying.
This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president.
This is the people rising up saying it's time to listen to us. It's time to listen to us in Michigan and Wisconsin and work for the people.
Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump to concede the race.
Want more similarities? Donald Trump doesn't drink. Muhammad Ali didn't drink. They both led public lives with public ups and downs. Ali was married 4 times, Trump 3. Ali has 9 children, Trump 5. At one time, Ali was despised by much of the nation when he converted to Islam and joined the Nation of Islam, changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and refused to be inducted into the draft as a religious, conscientious objector.
Why don't you like to be called Clay anymore?
No, Clay was not my name. Once we follow believe, hear, understand the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and come into knowledge of ourselves, then we want to be called after names of our people, which are names that fit us black people, and Clay was a white man's name. It was a slave name. And I'm no longer Clay, I'm no longer a slave, so now I'm Muhammad Ali.
Do you answer to Clay anymore?
Well, some people, they still say Clay.
Sports writers still call you Clay.
No, I stopped them because they know better. But some people who don't know better, they say, how you doing, Mr. Clay? I may not say nothing because the intention was nice. They didn't mean no harm. Then some walk up. How you doing, boy? How you feeling, Cassius? Meet Mr. Clay. Fine boy. Then I have to straighten him out because he's agitating, acting smart and bossy. But it's according to how they approach me.
It has been said that I have 2 alternatives. Either go to jail or go to the army. But I would like to say that there is another alternative. And that alternative is justice.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
And from being denounced and despised, fast forward to 1996.
And look, it's Muhammad Ali. What a moment. The former world heavyweight champion, one of the great figures in sport. Olympic gold medalist in 1960 in the Rome Olympics. Now the flame is...
So after winning all 7 swing states in 2024, leading a takeover of the Senate, retaining control of the House, first time since he entered politics almost 10 years ago, Trump's approval ratings now exceed his non-approval ratings. First time ever.
And what you are seeing is potentially Donald Trump on the precipice of the greatest comeback in American political history. I mean, we've never seen anything like this. We've seen presidents lose and come back. You know, we remember Grover Cleveland coming back, but this is...
You do.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. But
we weren't around for that. No, I'm just kidding.
But a president who left the White House the way he left, impeached for the second time, 7 members of his own party voting to convict him in the Senate, facing multiple criminal trials, indictments in 4 separate cases, convictions in the case in New York, and to face all of that, come back, recapture the Republican nomination, and be on the precipice of potentially getting back into the White House is something unlike anything we have ever seen in American history. Even with Donald Trump, we've just never seen something.
More comparisons? Well, Trump endured congressional investigations, 2 impeachments for reasons even the average Trump hater couldn't even explain, 2 assassination attempts, non-stop attacks by Democrat politicians, the Trump-hating combine of media, academia, Hollywood, and big tech, with the belated exception of X. Over 90% of the Trump news coverage by ABC, NBC, and CBS was negative. A jury convicted Muhammad Ali of draft evasion. He was fined $10 grand and sentenced to 5 years in prison. The New York Athletic Commission called Ali's refusal to be inducted into the military detrimental to the interests of boxing, and they withdrew his license to box, and he was stripped of his titles. Ali engaged in a protracted legal battle for 3 years, costing him a great deal of money and 3 years of his prime years as an athlete.
How do you stand now with the possibility of going to jail?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just waiting any day now.
Do you think about it?
Whenever people want to really make progress, some have to sacrifice a lot. And I like to say, white America right now is spending $30 million a day in Asia. Black and white boys are dying unjustly for nothing. So why should I worry about going to little old jail to free my poor people who's been catching hell here for 400 years?
Both Ali and Trump staged great, improbable comebacks.
Ali hanging on, getting away with it. The left hand taken on the side of Ali's cheek. The left hook again on the side of the gloves. Right hand by Foreman was not effective. The right uppercut did bounce the head a little bit. His punches will not hurt Ali. Ali just takes him, protecting his face at all times, does Ali. Foreman throwing more punches now. Maybe this could be the tactic of Ali to let the man punch himself out. 30 seconds left in round 8. Very even fight. Ali, a sneaky right hand. Another sneaky right hand. This time he worked over the shoulder of Foreman. It's the combination. 3, 4, 5, 6. Foreman gets up to the knee. 8. That's it. The fight is stopped. Muhammad Ali, a dramatic 8th-round knockout. He knocks out George Foreman. He's done it. Muhammad Ali has done it. Muhammad Ali has done it. The great man has done it.
A friend of mine, Tim Shanahan, was one of Ali's closest friends. He wrote a book called Running with the Champ about their philosophical discussions they had when they ran together as Ali trained for fights. Ali died in June 2016 before Trump's November triumph. But during the presidential campaign, Shanahan told me that Ali said he intended to vote for Trump. When Shanahan asked him why, Ali said Trump will shake things up. So, time will tell whether Trump ever reaches the level of respect and admiration eventually reached by Ali. Given the inherently divisive nature of politics, this is doubtful. But there is no doubt that both Ali and Trump, kindred spirits in so many ways, shook up the world.
The Fox News decision desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
The former president's comeback will be complete with a win in Wisconsin, a state that he narrowly lost 4 years ago. He is now the second president in U.S. history to win non-consecutive terms. The first was Grover Cleveland in the late 1800s.
Finally, divine intervention?
All right, you ready?
Yep, when you're ready.
Okay. Since the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, when supporters of Donald Trump stormed this building, trying to prevent the election victory of Joe Biden from being certified. On the anniversary. Oh my God. Oh, God, Sam. Oh.
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam.
Since the January 6th attack on the US Capitol, when supporters of Donald Trump stormed this building, trying to prevent the election victory of Joe Biden from being certified. On the anniversary. Oh, my God. Oh, God, Sam. Oh.
Next time, I want a little more enthusiasm.
Wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. Nobody's promised tomorrow. So I'ma love you every night like it's the last night. Like it's the last night. If the world was ending, I wanna be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth was through, I wanna hold you just for a while.
A man become preeminent, he is expected to have enthusiasms. Enthusiasms. Enthusiasms.
My favorite show.
Good morning, America. As promised, I stand here in front of ABC Studios, Hudson Square, in New York City, to unveil my latest masterpiece. But I really want you folks to please pay close attention to the intricate details of the faces of my subject. Without further ado, I present to you my latest work of art, appropriately titled... Ready? Good.
It is always better to be safe than sorry.
hip-hop, man. Young Maurice the God, man, buy my album, man. It's a mixture of a lot of genres. Trap music, bluegrass, support an artist, baby.
And last, this sounds like a typical conversation Nina and I had last night.
Oh my God, I'm so irritated. I am so irritated right now.
Why are you irritated?
Can you, let me get it out and not cut me off, please? Really? Can you just let me talk and I will tell you?
I'm not cutting you off. I'm just asking why you're irritated. You said you paused after you said you was irritated. So I asked why you was...
I never paused. And now I see that you're getting mad, so I don't even want to talk to you. I'm not going to deal with that.
I'm not mad.
Well, I feel that you're mad, and this is why I can't talk to you.
You can talk to me.
No, I clearly can't.
I was just asking why you were irritated.
You were asking, and then you cut me off when I was trying to tell you. But now
I never cut you off.
You did cut me off, and I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I never cut you off, though.
You did cut me off, and I was trying to tell you, but now I see that you're going to get mad and cut me off, so I can't tell you anything now. It's fine.
All I asked was why you was irritated. I was trying to be supportive. I was trying to...
Well, now it is what it is. Are you going to say something? Say something.
I don't know what to say. I'm confused.
So what you're saying is I'm confusing you. So you're confused about being with me? You don't know if you want to be with me or not?
I never said that.
So what are you saying? Because you're cutting me off, getting mad, and telling me that you don't want to be with me. Now what? What else?
Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save. Brought to you by my friends at InvestYRefy.com. Invest in America like I do. And by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Epoch Times, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, and El Cholo. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble, and be sure to patronize our sponsors. And remember, we've got a country to save.
We need to get dark money. That's that dark money, hidden funding behind too many campaigns contributions. We need to get it out of our politics. We need to enact an 18-year time limit, term limit, time and term, for the strongest ethics and the strongest ethics reforms for our Supreme Court. Time limit, term limit, time and term. We need to ban members of Congress from trading stock while they're in the Congress.
That's all, folks.